Hi, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Visweswaraiah as Assistant Professor of English, working in Government First Aid College, Kunigal, which is affiliated to Tumkur University, Karnataka. So, dear viewers, in this particular video, you're going to just get some information regarding pre-romantic period literature in English. So here, if we just think about pre-romantic era, so we would like to just recall some of the important elements of neoclassical period. So in my previous videos, uh, I exposed or I just spoke about the things which were happening and the writings which were familiar in England on the Dryden, Pope, and Johnson's writings. They made all the people of England and their writings were somewhat they related to classics. So the neoclassical era made such an important remarks there. So immediately after neoclassical, pre-romanticism began. See, with the intention of to bring or to make some of the changes or in the mindset of the people. So the writings which are dealt with nature and ordinary life of a man, so these were highlighted in pre-romantics. Okay, so the pre-romantic period begins immediately with the publication of lyrical ballads. Okay, so in this regard, this video will be analyzing some of the elements of a pre-romantic period in English literature. Okay, dear viewers, this is a syllabus which is prescribed for Tumkur University as well. So the English literature students they learn about this pre-romantic period. Okay, so okay, so here, so we can say that this pre-romantic era is chief among those trends was shift in public taste away from what are the things already were there in neoclassical. So we can say that okay, so this pre-romantics highlights on very simple or simplicity and sincerity and more natural form of expressions were dealt with the writings of pre-romantics. So okay, let us have some slides on the screen so that you will be able to recall some of the points regarding this, and also you can note down some of the points about pre-romantic period in English literature. Okay, so please, I just okay, yeah. So here you just see there the topic, the pre-romantic period of literature. So okay, let us go to the introduction part of it. So here, yeah, so we see that here in the later 18th century marked the beginning shift in the interest of from classical literature, neoclassical correctness, judgment, grandeur, restraint, and reason towards emotion and emotion and imagination, and we just see that. So we see that individualism, simplicity, purity of thoughts, and innocence, primitivism of the Middle Ages, and return to nature, particularly. See, that made the people of England to accept the changes, what is happened in the field of literature, art, and okay. So it was emphasized new cultural tendencies, okay, literary and critical theories as well, and new sensibilities. So this paved way for the establishment of romantic movement in English literature. Okay, so dear viewers, here it is focused on that how the changes required for the people of England, and so that they expected some of the changes to happen in literary field, so they were waiting for it. So immediately, as I already told you that immediately with the publication of lyrical ballad, so romantic movement in English literature established. Okay, so yeah, so we can just say that what is the historical background for this period. Okay, we can just see here, pre-romanticism is a general term applied by modern literary historians to a number of developments in the late 18th century. Up to there, neoclassical period emerged, and the writers of the same neoclassical were famous, and also the works of them were got attracted some way. So the developments in the late 18th century, this pre-romantic started or began. Okay, so the culture that are thought to have prepared the ground for romanticism in its full sense. Okay, so culture that thought to have prepared, so that was made to just establish this pre-romantic era. In various ways, these are all departures from the orderly framework of neoclassicism and its authorized genres. It's okay, as I told you that until neoclassical departure from the orderly framework, the various way, it was not expected then. Now, okay. So one more important point here is significant foreign influences for the beginning of the Romantic movement were the Germans Goethe, Schiller, and August Wilhelm Siegel, and French philosopher and writer Jean-Jacques Rousseau influenced this romantic movement. Okay, so this is about historical background for this. Okay, let us go to the next slide. It continues. So there we just see that Edmund Burke's a philosophical inquiry into the origin of our idea of the Sublime and Beautiful, which was published in 1757, was another important influence for pre-romantic or romanticism. So the chief feature of the romantic movement was a shift in public taste. This is very important. It was completely a shift in public taste away from, as I told you, grandeur, austerity, nobility, idealization, and elevated sentiments of neoclassicism or classicism towards simpler, more sincere, and more natural forms of expression. Okay, so this new emphasis partly reflected the tastes of the growing middle class, who found the refined and elegant art forms patronized by aristocratic society to be artificial and overly sophisticated. So the bourgeois favored more realistic artistic vehicles that were more emotionally accessible. So in this background, romantic era began. Okay. So to continue with, there were more major intellectual precursor of romanticism was the French philosopher and writer JeanJacques Rousseau. So this influence was very much important for the romanticism. Okay, what he did there, he emphasized that the free expression of emotion. See, it's very important. So that is the main thing we should focus here. So the more emphasis on the free expression of emotion rather than polite restraint in friendship and love, and repudiated aristocratic elegance and recognized the virtues of middle class domestic life, and helped to open the public's eyes to the beauties of nature. Okay, so this influenced romanticism. Okay, so to look at the poetry in the pre-romantic period. So how poetry plays very important role. That is very interesting here, that the romantic moment in English literature of the early 19th century, okay, and until the pre-romantic late 18th century, but now here it was carried with early 19th century has its roots in 18th century poetry. That is a Gothic novel, the novels of manners and the novels of sensibility. That was the root there, but it was emerged here in the first half of 19th century. Okay, this also includes graveyard poets from the 1740s and later, whose works are characterized by gloomy meditations on morality. Okay, so to this was added by later practitioners a feeling for the sublime and uncanny, and an interest in ancient English poetic forms and folk poetry. They are often considered precursors of the Gothic genre. Okay, so to look at the poets of the age or the poets of the pre-romantic era is very important. How it was Thomas Gray and whose elegy, it is very important, the elegies written in a country church ad which was published in 1751. Okay, Elegy written in a country is the best known product of this kind of sensibility. Okay, so the Thomas Gray was very famous in that time. Other precursors are James Thomson from 1700 to 48. Okay, James Macpherson, Robert Burns, William Collins, and importantly, so William Blake from 1757 to 1827. Okay, so William Cowper again was a very famous there, and Christopher Smart and Thomas Chatterton. Okay, Robert Blake, author of The Grave, and which celebrates the horror of death, and Edward Young, whose The Complaint or Night Thoughts on Life, Death and Immortality is another noted example for the graveyard genre, as I already told you in the last slide. So this is how the poets were famous in pre-romantics. Okay, so to conclude with, it is very important to look at. So when the Romantics emerged at the end of the 18th century, they were not assuming a radically new invention of the subjective self themselves, but merely formalizing what had gone before. That is very important. Similarly, so later 18th century, we saw a ballad revival with Thomas Percy's Reliques of Ancient English Poetry. So the folk inspired impulse combined with the solitary and individualistic impulse of the churchyard poets. Romanticism was nearly inevitable, so began immediately with it. And we just see that, as I already told you, that the root of the Romanticism was there in the end of the neoclassical period. The poets who are famous in the later stage of neoclassicals. Okay, so this is how you can just this is about the highlights of regarding pre-romantic literature in English. Okay, so with this you can just have a more reading on this, so that you will be more able to know Romanticism, how it began. So dear viewers, this is how you can just this was an attempt to make you to understand just highlights about the beginning of pre-romantics. Okay, so this is what you should know about more about how Romanticism and later stages it occupied the English literature in a very vast manner. That is very important. Okay, so here the background makes you to look at the important aspects of pre-romantic period in English literature. So okay, so my or my words for who are studying in this or who are studying in UG level, the syllabus which is prescribed for you in this regard, you should be focused on or you should read more on the pre-romantics, and also highlight what made the Romanticism to begin with, because we can just say that a shift from neoclassical to romanticism is a very important thing here. So that is how the students, you just read more on whenever and whatever, whenever the new shift is happening in any literature or in any era, there must be some basic elements, or there should be some of the elements which makes a particular era to begin with. So that is what here it happened. Okay, so dear viewers, very thank you so much for listening to this video, and kindly subscribe and watch. Thank you so much.